starting with the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Dear students, welcome you again to e-learning class of chemistry. This is our lecture number 2. As you know that in the previous lecture, we have started unit number 1 of this book, which is Fundamentals of Chemistry, in which you were introduced to definition of chemistry. Now today, in this lecture, I am going to teach you the first topic of this chapter, which is Muslim period or the period of alchemists. This period started in 600 up to 1600 AD. What is AD? AD means that time period which is after the death of Christ. So we are actually going to discuss that how chemistry flourished with the passage of time in this topic. So the science of chemistry grew and flourished in the early civilizations of the world. Many civilizations did a great job and they really did great efforts in the advancement of this subject. For example, the major civilizations that performed really great efforts to develop this subject were the Egyptians, the Romans, the Greeks, and of course the Muslims. Now, among all these civilizations, why we are going to discuss only the Muslim period? It is because Muslim scientists actually laid the foundation of chemistry. These were the Muslim scientists who made effective and invaluable services in the field of chemistry. What is meant by effective and invaluable services? Here you can see the word effective means essential, and the word invaluable means extremely useful. So what does it mean? It means that these were our Muslim scientists who laid the foundation of chemistry and they made very essential and extremely useful contributions in the field of chemistry. The period, which is from 600 to 1600 AD, is called the Muslim period in the history of chemistry. Why it is called so? Because due to the great efforts and due to the great contributions of our Muslim scientists in this field. This field is also called the period of alchemists in the history of chemistry. And who were alchemists or who are alchemists? Alchemist means our Muslim scientists. Now there were some goals of alchemists. What were these goals? Look at the first one. Their first goal was to find out methods to prolong life. What does it mean? Prolong means to increase. So at that time, alchemists tried a lot to discover a method or any kind of technique or any kind of medicine by means of which one can increase its lifespan. But they failed in doing so, as it is not possible to prolong our life. What was their second goal? Their second aim or their second goal was to look for ways. Ways means methods. So their second goal was to look for methods to change base metals into gold. What are base metals? Base metals means common metals, which are low-cost metals. For example, you heard about some metals like iron, copper, etc. So these common metals are base metals. And alchemists tried a lot to convert these base metals into gold. As we all know that gold is a very precious metal. So they tried a lot to convert these common metals into gold, but again they were failed in doing so. And there was also another goal, and that was to find physical evidences to support religious and philosophical beliefs. Evidence means proof. So they also tried to find proofs to support their different religious beliefs and different philosophies of that time. So there were three main goals of alchemists, but unfortunately they failed to achieve these goals. But still, they provide us a basis of modern chemistry. Now, what were the achievements or what were the contributions of these Muslim scientists? Although they failed in achieving their goals, but they discovered many other special kind of techniques at that time, and those techniques or these techniques are still used in modern chemistry. So now look at the achievements of these Muslim scientists. Our Muslim scientists discovered many elements such as arsenic, antimony, bismuth, and many more. These Muslim scientists also developed and used many laboratory instruments such as funnels, crucibles, and flasks, etc. Although you are not familiar with these instruments or equipments yet, but you will get to know about all these equipments or instruments when you will yourself perform these experiments in your laboratory when our schools will be reopened. So right now you have to remember just the names of these instruments that are used in the laboratories while performing different experiments. So funnels, crucibles, flasks, and a large number of other laboratory instruments and equipments were developed by the Muslim scientists. So this is a very big achievement. Now, not only they discovered the elements or different equipments, but they also introduced very important chemical processes or techniques which are very helpful and still used in modern chemistry. What these techniques are. So for example, they developed the technique of filtration, distillation, sublimation, fermentation, etc. So now it's time to understand these techniques one by one. Filtration. It is a process in which insoluble solid particles are removed from a liquid by using a porous medium or any filter medium. In this technique, we use a very simple kind of paper which is called filter paper. And filter paper has a large number of pores in it. So we can do the process of filtration in our laboratory by using a filter paper. So let's suppose if we have water in a beaker and we dissolve some amount of sand in water. Now we all know that sand can never be dissolved in water. So by trying to dissolve sand in water, we are actually getting a mixture of sand and water. And we can separate the constituents of mixture. We can separate sand from water by taking the help of this technique, which is filtration. So look at the diagram which is given below. This is a beaker and it contains water, and let's suppose we have added sand in it. Now, when we pour this water that contains sand in it in the funnel that contains a filter paper, so what will happen? Sand particles will remain on the filter paper and clear water will pass and it will come into the flask from where we can easily collect that pure water. So this technique, by means of which you can separate solid particles from a liquid, this technique is called filtration. Clear? Now, the second technique that was also introduced by the Muslim scientist, it is called distillation. Look at the definition. Distillation is again a purification technique in which a liquid or a mixture of liquid is purified by the process of heating and cooling on the basis of difference in boiling point of the constituent compounds. Now, how can you understand the process of distillation? So, for example, consider that if we have a mixture of water and ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol is the name of a compound. So, you have a mixture of water and ethyl alcohol. Now, you can separate this ethyl alcohol from water by using the technique of distillation, as both ethyl alcohol and water have different boiling points. So when you start the process of distillation on this mixture, what will happen? You start heating this mixture. Now ethyl alcohol boils at 78 degrees Celsius and water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So you started heating this mixture. So when the temperature reaches at 78 degrees Celsius, ethyl alcohol starts boiling. And after boiling, it starts converting into its vapors. Now these vapors will come in the condenser, which is clear in this figure that what part is considered to be condenser. So when these vapors of ethyl alcohol will come inside the condenser, they start cooling here. And then when these vapors will be cooled, these again start converting into ethyl alcohol droplets or molecules. And we can easily collect this ethyl alcohol, which will be in liquid state, from this receiver or a flask. Now, looking back at that round bottom flask in which water is left behind after the evaporation of ethyl alcohol. Now, heating is continued. So, when the temperature reaches at 100 degrees Celsius, now water starts boiling, gets converted into its vapors. Vapors will come inside the condenser. They will be cooled here and again converted back into water, and you can receive that water from the receiver flask. So this is how distillation can help us to separate one liquid from another on the basis of the difference in their boiling points. The next technique is called sublimation. Sublimation is also a purification technique. It is the process in which a solid substance is directly converted into its vapors without passing through the liquid state. This setup, which is shown in the figure, is used for the process of sublimation. This process will become clear to you when you will perform the experiment on sublimation by yourself in your laboratory. Another technique that was also developed by the Muslim scientist is fermentation. How we can define the process of fermentation? It is the chemical breakdown of a substance by the action of bacteria or any other microorganism. In simple words, we can say that it is a process in which a complex substance gets converted into simpler substance by the action of bacteria or any other microorganism. This process can result in the conversion of sugar into alcohol, again by the action of microorganism. So like filtration, distillation and sublimation, fermentation is also one of the important techniques that we used in our daily life. By doing the process of fermentation, we can get yogurt and curd from milk by the action of bacteria. So, in this lecture, we discussed Muslim period. And we also discussed that what were the aims of our Muslim scientists or alchemists, and what were the achievements or the contributions of our Muslim scientists. All these techniques and many other processes were introduced by the Muslim scientists long ago. But all these techniques are still used in modern chemistry. In short, Muslim period provides a basis for modern chemistry. And this period of Muslims, that is from 600 to 1600 AD, was almost 1000 years long. So this was all about the period of alchemists in the history of chemistry.